Have you ever had that feeling, that nagging thought that maybe you peaked in your 20s? You know, you had all this drive, all this grit, but now you're hitting your late 20s, maybe your early 30s, and that fire just feels like it's fizzling out. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. So let's get into it. Let's break down why this happens and, way more importantly, how you can actually rebuild that drive from the inside out.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to put a name to that whole peaked in my 20s feeling. Then, we'll dig into the huge motivational shift that's actually causing it all. After that, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of how you build a real identity. And finally, we'll wrap up with a practical, step-by-step framework to get that fire going again.
All right, part one, this feeling of being peaked. Look, this is so much more than just feeling tired or a little bored. This is a deep, fundamental sense that the engine that used to power you has just run out of gas. Let's just ask it directly, right? Because it's a question a lot of us ask ourselves in private, but almost never talk about out loud. You look around and you see other people who still seem to have that spark, that passion, and you just think, what happened to mine? Where did it go? And I bet some of these symptoms are going to sound painfully familiar. That drive you used to have, it's fading. You feel constantly burnt out. You spend all your time looking for the next productivity hack, hoping it'll be the magic bullet, but it never is. And maybe the weirdest part of all is that on the outside, your life looks pretty good. You have the job, you've checked the boxes, but on the inside, you just feel totally and completely lost. So what is going on here? Well, first things first, this is not some personal failure on your part. It's actually a signal. It's a sign that the entire operating system you've been running on for your whole life is becoming obsolete. The hard truth is this: what got you here isn't going to get you there. Just think about it for a second. When you're a kid, your motivation is almost 100% external. You're trying to please your parents, right? Then you become a teenager, and it's all about fitting in with your friends. Then in your early 20s, it shifts to chasing good grades, impressing your first boss, getting that promotion. It's a whole system of clear external rewards. But then you hit your late 20s, your brain fully matures, and that entire external system is actually designed to break down, leaving this big, empty question mark. And this leads to something the psychiatrist Erik Erikson famously called a noiseless crisis. It's that exact feeling we've been talking about. From the outside, everything looks great. You've got the career, the apartment, whatever. But inside, there's this quiet desperation because the rulebook you followed your entire life has just run out of pages. And this is the critical turning point. If you want to get that drive back, you have to stop looking outside. You have to build a brand new system, one that's powered from the inside. And that entire system is built on one thing: a solid foundation of identity. So let's look at the two keys to actually building it. Okay, this might look a little like a boring textbook chart, but stick with me because it's so important. Psychologists say our identity is formed along two main lines. You've got exploration on one axis, that's trying new things, seeing what's out there, and you've got commitment on the other, that's actually choosing a path. Now, this matrix shows us the 4 places you can end up, and 2 of them are major traps where people get stuck. The first trap, and honestly, the most common one for high achievers feeling that burnout, is called foreclosure. This is when you commit to a path, like becoming a doctor or a lawyer, without ever really stopping to explore if it's what you wanted. You just did it because your family expected it, or because it was the smart thing to do. And it works for a while because you're still running on that old external motivation of making other people happy. But eventually, that runs out. And then we have the other trap, moratorium. This is basically the exact opposite problem. You're constantly exploring. You're taking up new hobbies, researching new careers, moving to new cities, but you are terrified to actually commit to anything. Because what if you pick the wrong thing? You're so scared of closing doors that you just end up standing in the hallway forever. So the way out of both of these traps is what the experts call achievement. And this is key. It's not about finding the one single perfect path that's just out there waiting for you. It's about consciously exploring your options, learning about yourself, and then making a deliberate, intentional choice to commit to a path and make it your own. And this brings us to a really tough but necessary truth about this whole process of exploration. Sometimes, to find the path that is truly yours, you have to be willing to walk away from something that looks great on paper. You might have to leave a good job or a stable relationship, and I know that is absolutely terrifying. But it's often the only way to clear the space to build something that's truly authentic to you. Okay, so theory is great, but how do we actually do this? How do we build this new internal system? This isn't about some vague advice like, go find yourself on a retreat. No, we're talking about a concrete, practical framework that's based on a really powerful psychological idea called self-determination theory. So this theory basically says that to build a strong sense of self, and with it, that deep internal motivation, you need to focus on cultivating three specific things in your life. They are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Let's break down exactly what those mean. First up is autonomy. And listen close because this is a paradox that trips up almost everyone. We think we have to figure out who we are first, and then we can start making confident choices. But it's actually the complete opposite. It's the very act of making a choice, any choice, that is truly your own, that builds your sense of who you are. Action comes first, identity follows. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to change the fundamental question you're asking yourself. You have to stop asking, what is the correct path? Or what's the right thing to do? That's just your old external programming talking. The only question that matters now is, what path will I choose to walk? The what is so much less important than the fact that you are the one doing the choosing. Okay, pillar number 2 is competence. But this isn't what you think. It's not about just doing things you're already good at to feel good about yourself. Real competence in this sense is about pushing yourself. It's about stretching your abilities to find out where your actual limits are. You can't truly know who you are until you know what you are and are not capable of. And the final pillar, relatedness, is all about connection. It's about having people in your life who see and appreciate you for who you really are. But here's the catch-22. How can anyone see the real you if you don't even know who that is yet? You end up connecting with people through a mask, a personality you built to please others, and that just leaves you feeling more alone than ever. And this quote, man, this just gets to the absolute core of everything. That internal drive, that passion you're looking for, it's not about being efficient or optimizing your life for success. True passion is about finding something you care about so deeply that you're willing to do things that seem inefficient or illogical or even just plain stupid to the outside world. And why? Because the motivation is coming from you, not from their approval. So, if you're feeling like you peaked, the way forward isn't about finding some perfect answer that's hiding under a rock. It's about reclaiming your power to just choose. The path to reigniting that fire inside you begins not with some grand discovery, but with a single, small, autonomous decision. So the only real question left is, what would you choose?